Hey everyone, and welcome to Behind the Mask. I'm one of your co-hosts, EJ, and joining me today are my friends Lori and T.
Hello.
Hello.
This is episode 1. Today we'll be introducing ourselves to you lovely listeners. The three of us are friends from different walks of life and educational backgrounds who are on individual journeys to be our authentic selves. These journeys have led us to be the people we are today, so let's get talking. Lori, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and the hobbies that you like?
Wow. I feel a little put on the spot, but here goes. Hobbies. I like reading and writing. I've been a single mom for most of my kids' lives. They're young adults now. Guess they're not kids. I have 2 sons, a couple of fabulous grandchildren, and I'm a graduate alum of Gonzaga University. I majored in history and theater, 2 of my absolute favorite subjects. And I go to church, and I love playing Scrabble and cards. Almost any kind of card game that's out there.
Don't play cards with Lori. She will win every time.
And she's vicious about it.
Yes, she is. And she's competitive.
I'm not
just a little bit.
competitive. No, you can't
That's
say
it.
that.
I'm recording you next time.
You're being recorded, Lori. You know that, right?
Are you telling me I'm going to be struck by lightning? I guess I am a little competitive, and I am a little lucky, if you will, at cards, but I enjoy them, and some of my friends still play with me. All right, so enough about me. Somebody else get in the hot seat.
How about you, Tina?
So I don't even know where to start either. So this is kind of interesting. So I am a Christian. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 3 kids, all adult. Between the 3 of them, I have 8 grandchildren with 1 on the way. My husband also has 3 children, so I have 3 stepchildren. They have not started having kids yet, and I'm okay with that because that means I get to have more grandbabies later. I graduated with my master's in clinical psychology in 2011 from Eastern Washington University. I tend toward anything creative. I love being creative. So, whether that's drawing, painting,
jewelry, my favorite.
Jewelry is my most recent. Yes, ma'am. And currently, for my occupation, I am a trauma therapist, which has been my dream to do. It took a long time and finally reached it. So that's exciting. And I hope to bring that to this podcast with me.
We know you will.
Can you explain a little bit about what a trauma psychologist does?
Well, as a trauma therapist, I'll do a little correction now because psychologist is 2 years more of education.
That is true. Yes. Okay, so trauma therapist then.
In my role where I'm at, I work with clients who have experienced any crime. They're a victim of any kind of crime, and that includes domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse are the top clients I see. And so in my work, I work with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety are the 3 top ones that I work with.
Yeah. Wow. I know we're going to get into more of that in future podcasts and so forth, but it's definitely...
I'm kind of addicted to the brain. I like talking about the brain.
Yes.
I love educating and teaching and talking about all of that stuff. So I definitely be piping in a lot with that. I'm kind of a know-it-all.
But you're a fun know-it-all.
Yes.
Aw, thank you.
Well, what about you, Miss EJ?
Wow, I don't even know where to start. So
I'm glad it wasn't the only one.
No, I'm trying to I'm trying to think about my Twitter bio and my Instagram bio. It's like, okay, so I'm a Christian. I'm proud to made Jesus Lord of my life about 5.5 years ago. 6.5 years since I lost my mom. Yeah, so became a Christian July of 2015. Has been the biggest change, but the best change for me in my life.
Amen.
I'm an only child, so I have a lot of friends who are my family, and it's amazing because when I became a member of my church, I gained a huge extended family. And my dad has a big family, so I have a lot of cousins and aunts and uncles, but I don't live quite near them, so I don't get to see them frequently. And so thankful for technology to at least keep in touch. I think I said I'm single. I love technology. I love computers. I have a web design degree, a little obsolete, but I have it. I love learning technology and hanging out and doing stuff online. One of my favorite games online is to play The Sims. I think I have every version and every expansion pack of 1 through 3, and then I'm working on getting everything for 4. So I'm like a diehard Sims fan.
I don't think I remember that. Wow, that learning something new every day.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Bremerton, Washington, and moved to Tacoma, Washington when I was 31. So a lot later in life. Definitely was a big move for me, but I think it was a healthy move. And hobby-wise, I love to write. My dream all my life has been to be a published author. I'm about 2 chapters away from finishing the first draft of my first fictional novel.
Yay!
So this year, my big goal is to finish it. Finish the novel. My goal is to have it edited and by the end of the year have it published. So that's a huge excitement for me. I've always dreamed of doing that, and just to be able to do that or to be that much closer to it, because I've been writing 15, 20 years, just never anything official that I could have published. I've always dabbled in the fan fiction realm, which is where fans of a television show, movie, book can write a story with the characters from that genre. So they're using already made up characters to create their own ideas and stories. So you can't make money on that, which is totally fine with me because it's given me like 15 years of practice.
Neat.
Yeah, so I've really enjoyed that. Definitely watch a lot of TV, a lot of movies. I love crafts. I love doing things with my hands I make dream catchers. I used to make some sort of jewelry, but not as much anymore. I do like making friendship bracelets, but that's a little challenging. But dream catcher is probably my favorite thing to make.
So do you like to like while you're watching shows, be doing something with your hands, like making the dream catchers? Because that's me. I'm obsessed with doing it that way.
Yeah, I used to be. I don't know. Ever since I moved into my own place, my crafts have been in their closet. Like I've had a whole closet full of my craft supplies, and I don't think to get them out. And I'm really bad with. I get interested in a craft, and then I go all in. I buy all this stuff for it, and then I do it for 2 months, and then I'm like, oh, this is too much work, and then I put it aside, and so then I have all this stuff built up of all this extra. I probably have a trunk full of scrapbook paper, of just blank scrapbook paper that I've never touched, because I started scrapbooking once 15, 20 years ago and never got back to it.
I am surrounded by craftsy addicts.
Yeah.
But I mean, crafts are amazing and they're super soothing. And I mean, personally, I've struggled with depression and anxiety all my life. It didn't really get bad until I lost my grandmother in 2001. And then I really had some major struggles with stress-related obsessive compulsive disorder and germophobia. So for many years, I was very uncomfortable getting touched by people, which I've since grown out of. Thankfully.
Thank goodness.
Thank you. Yeah, God did that one. And so I've definitely on the mental health side, I've definitely struggled with a lot of stuff. And so I've kind of gone through the ups and the downs. Definitely grateful for God and the opportunities I've been given since I've accepted that there is a God, because I know a lot of people, and even me, growing up, I didn't really have a religious background. I think at one point my mom asked me, where'd you get that belief? Because I never taught that to you. And it was I think I was watching a show called Stargate, and they were focusing on a lot of the Egyptian gods. So at that time I started believing in a higher power, but I didn't really want to put a name to it.
Interesting.
So slowly, as I got to know more about that, I at least started to believe in something, but then I didn't know what I was believing in. And then as my mom got sick, there's obviously that time of pain and blaming whatever higher power is for making her sick. And I ended up losing her. Then my dad went through some health challenges as well. So I was reached out to for church right after all that happened. So divine intervention,
Yes,
divine timing, miracles, whatever you want to call it. It was the right time, and God knew it. He knew I'd be open, and since becoming a Christian, I've definitely blossomed, and I feel like I truly feel like a butterfly. Like, you go through your life as a caterpillar, and struggle, and then you go to sleep because you got this, and that's that moment of, you're in a cocoon, and then you get baptized and you're like this new creation, literally, like you're a butterfly.
Yes.
And I feel like that's me. Like, I'm doing things now that 10 years ago I couldn't imagine myself having done. So,
Well, that's some great growth.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for having a huge, amazing spiritual family around me who, is supportive, is there for me when I need it, and has been, and I know they will continue to be. But ultimately, that we have a God that's supportive and is there for us.
Yeah, I was just posting about that on Facebook this last week about how, I'm surrounded by the most amazing tribe, or as we often say, because Aaron and I attend the same congregation. And so in different places, I guess you would say, but the same religious umbrella, so to speak. And we often call it kingdom family, and kingdom minded. And I love my kingdom family. I love my tribe. I love the people I'm surrounded with, those families. I also have, my Marine family, and, my Zags family, United We Zag. I'm so excited because March Madness is approaching, and I'm going to...
Oh, well, if you're talking sports, I'm a huge Seahawks fan.
Yeah, I know. I love you anyway.
Yeah.
We love her anyway.
Won't hold that against you.
Yeah. And for those of you who are wondering who Aaron is, I am Aaron. Aaron is my official name or my legal name, and I go by EJ. So Lori knows me as Aaron, and so you may hear that being dropped here.
I'm so glad you said that, because I do try to stay on what we've said, but
it's totally okay. I have friends that like accidentally drop Aaron once in a while, and they're like, "Who?" Like, well, and it's weird because I go by EJ online, so any online platform, I never use Aaron. And then there's rare occasions where like I go do a conference or something, and I have to use my legal name. So like Ronan and Raphael know me as Aaron. So they don't even know, but they know my social media handle is EJ because that's what I am online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first met my Marine family at boot camp, and everybody was running around calling for Lee. And I'm like, oh, that's right. That's my Facebook name. They all know me now. I just, nobody, I just hadn't, but they only knew me as Lee, which is, my middle name. And I had completely forgotten that online I had kind of this a whole different name and a whole different persona, so to speak. Which of course, we're talking about.
Different mask.
You had a different mask.
Yes, I was wearing a different mask. Thank you so much. Great transition, ladies. Something else you touched on, Aaron. You touched on where you're living. Tina, you're a little more like me. I've kind of lived all over, right? You have too?
Yes. Although within the country, I've lived all over the state.
That's right. I'm the only one that's lived outside the country. Okay. You've lived. Is there? What were some of your favorite places?
Anywhere northeast or northwest. Do not put me in the Midwest.
No, you're not a farm girl?
Well, it's not that. I'm all about
weather.
Yes, it's the weather. I swear, you live in Missouri and you need to grow gills to breathe. It is the humidity.
Minnesota's like that too.
Oh my gosh, I can't even. The only good thing about living there besides family was the thunderstorms. I am all about storms. Whether it's snowstorms, rainstorms, I don't care if it's a storm, I'm there. But and to have thunderstorms for hours and hours and hours was phenomenal. But I could live without the rest of it.
Oh, I get you. My dad is from Minnesota, and so we'd go back from Washington. We'd drive to Minnesota in the summers, and we'd always end up stopping in North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota. And inevitably, the day we'd stop, that night, we'd go to sleep, and there would be this horrendous thunder and lightning storm. I would sleep through it because we had an RV and I was in the top bunk, so I was right by the ceiling.
Nice.
I'd sleep through it, and my mom would be up all night eating all of our beef jerky and every snack she could find in our RV because she'd be so terrified of the thunder and lightning. And she's like, I can't believe you sleep through it. And I'm like, I'm not scared. I
think
love
I would be with your
It
mom.
is
I'd
amazing.
be totally snacking my way through that thing.
Yeah.
You guys would be out like Tina'd have her bag of popcorn.
Well,
going,
yeah.
This is fascinating.
I've had to be drug in out of the lightning storms because I'm just so more.
And my dad, he enjoys them. He's from there, so it's nothing for him. And so he'll like joke about like my mom's like, yep, she didn't have any fingernails left, so she had to go for the jerky. And then she didn't have any jerky left, so she went to this. And then when we get to Minnesota, my dad's mom at the time lived on a lake.
Nice.
So whenever we were out in the yard, which was shaded, you'd take a step and there'd be like this cloud of mosquitoes flying up from the grass.
Yeah, it's a state bird.
Because it was so humid.
That's the joke.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Southern California. I'm a beach girl. I love the ocean. I love anything about the ocean.
Well, so do I.
Yes. It's a little cold up here. A little too cold for me.
Yeah.
But I would say if I had to pick a favorite place, it would be England. Yeah.
I knew you were
can't
gonna say
help
that.
it. It was there were so many things I loved about it. Besides the fact that it was a really good time in my life, it was amazing. And I was young, and I was able to travel to so many different other countries and have so many different life experiences. But the British people were great. The countryside was lovely. I mean, it was idyllic. And not a lot of places that I've lived outside of Southern California could I say that about. Colorado is beautiful, way too cold. I do not miss all the feet of snow and I don't know, the animals are a little too numerous for me. I'm a bit of a city girl. So
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I need my gourmet coffee.
Still to this
I need my
day.
gourmet coffee. I want to be able to go to the theater and the movies and shopping and
She
malls.
would pay big bucks to any listener out there who's ready to create a portable sidewalk to go.
You are so true. That is so true. That really is. I'd probably give you every last cent that I had for that. So I think it's just interesting that, some of us, EJ has kind of pretty much grown up in the same place, her whole life. And then, I've traveled all over the world, and Tina's been and lived in several places in the United States. Just gives us that different perspective,
Right. And I, like for me, I grew up as an only child. My dad had been in the military, got out of the military, and met my mom. And then they had me. So I never experienced life as being like traveling around because of the military. My dad did work for the military after he got out of the military as a civil service in the shipyards. But it's a little different because you're in one place. And he never traveled frequently out.
Right.
So I didn't have that experience. I did have a lot of friends move in and out because the area I lived in was very heavily military. There's a lot of military presence. So there's always people coming in, or there's a new ship station there and a new boat moving out, or somebody'd get deployed. And yeah, so I don't know. And I'm a country girl at heart. Like I'm the beach or just a quiet day sitting staring at Mount Rainier. I'm all for. I don't mind the city. But there's cities and there's like metropolises. Metropoli?
That's a big word.
Big cities. Like, I don't know if I would do very well in New York. Let's say that. Tacoma I can handle. Seattle I can handle. Portland is okay. I don't know it as well as I know the other two.
New York and LA. Oh, they're so fabulous. You just don't know what you're missing there. I don't know.
See, I lived in big cities and small towns, and I prefer small town life.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Philadelphia when I was a kid. And what was great about that is the historical aspect of it, because everything that our country started with is still there.
Yes.
So I got to see like the
Yeah.
Liberty Bell. I got to see Betsy Ross's
Oh,
house and
that's cool.
the church that all the original founders went to. And the oldest
Mm-hmm.
road in the United States is in Philadelphia. So
That's
I
cool.
got to see
Right.
that. And then living in
Yeah.
the state of New York, all the maple trees and maple candy
Yeah.
and old wooden covered bridges.
Real
And,
maple.
oh yeah, real maple.
You're making me hungry.
You
We
know,
got to
so
stop talking about
Sounds
food.
good. I know. Yeah.
so and I lived in I was real young in second grade when I lived in Southern California for a bit, but and I remember liking it okay, but I'm still all about the Northeast or the Northwest, preferably the Northwest. I spent the bulk of my childhood in Montana, up in the mountains, and mountains are my
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I
Yeah.
need
I love the
the
mountains.
mountains.
Yeah, they're lovely to visit, but I don't want to live there.
I mean,
Eh,
I don't know. It
How
depends.
long have you been here, Lori?
Okay, yes, but I live in the flat side of the state. There are mountains sort of around us, I guess. I don't live in them like I did when we were in Colorado. I just,
Gotcha.
yeah,
I see what
no,
you're
I
saying.
don't. It's a different. I don't know. There's too many bugs. There's too many animals. There's too many, and there's not enough people. I need more people.
Yeah, you are a social butterfly.
Oh my God.
I fuel
Well,
off of people, which is of
right.
course
Yeah.
killed me in this whole COVID thing. I've been so feeling
Yeah.
like, you ladies hear me call it my gilded cage all the time. I have a beautiful, beautiful condo. I love where I live. I'm grateful for the blessings that God really does surround me with. But I am a social person at heart. I'm truly an extrovert, and I was talking with a group of writing gals on the internet the other day, and we were discussing the fact that several of us feel like we've lost our muse, if you will, because really my favorite place to sit and write is like a coffee shop, and especially in the mall. And you would think that would be distracting. And I do have headphones for when I really need to zone in on just the writing, but I need to see things and be a part of this bustling life to respond to it, right? And if I'm just sitting there staring at the beautiful river and the creek and the tree, like they're lovely, but that's not where I get my motivation from. It doesn't inspire me, encourage me. It's like a beautiful piece of art. I enjoy it and I like it, but I need so much more than that.
Well, and honestly, technology is great because it's helped us be able to stay connected, but staying connected is different even than being physically
Yes.
with people.
Yep.
Like, no matter how we look at it. Zoom is amazing. All this technology that keeps us connected is awesome, but it's not the same as getting a hug from somebody, and I miss hugs.
So
Yeah.
So here's the thing is that there's research out there that shows that our hearts respond by just being in the same room with another heart.
Yes.
And
Yep.
there is certain chemicals we release in our brain that when we touch, when there's a physical touch, one of them is called oxytocin, which I have a funny story I'll tell about that sometime. But it's it is absolutely necessary that we have some human contact. Everybody has different levels.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Lori talks about how she recharges. And I often use that with clients, Lori, that I have a friend who recharges from being in contact with people. Or, being around people. And then there's others who need to recharge by taking a break, which honestly has been one of the tests of Lori's and I's relationship in the beginning, because I am an introvert. Ironically, there is so much irony to that, but I'm an introvert. I recharge by me time, my alone time, and she recharges with being around people. And so there that we would clash.
Yes.
In that. Lori, I'm done. And she's like, no, we got to keep going. It's like, no.
Yes, I know we're going to talk some more about that later. So let's definitely go back to that.
we thought we'd share how we did meet. So Lori and Tina have known each other the longest. So why don't you guys kind of just explain that? If either one of you
I
want to
think, Tina,
start.
you can start and I can chime in.
Well, what year did you start at SEC?
2005.
Okay, so in 2005,
That was good.
so yeah, in 2005 when Lori started, I was a year ahead of her. We were both at Spokane Community College, and I was in a drama club, and that's how I met Lori, was in drama club. And as you guys get to know her, you'll see how that is kind of obvious.
I'm not dramatic. Are you saying I'm dramatic?
So, but we got to work together on a couple projects and just really became fast friends. We had kids who were similar in age, and
we had
so,
children who dated.
Yes, yes. We won't out them because they've moved on with their lives.
They have. But you know, do you remember when they came to us and they're like, we're going to date? And I remember both you and I were very emphatic. But I remember a conversation that I had with, my son, and I was like, you need to know that this is my best friend over here. And if you mess with that, we're going to have a talk. Like, because in my mind, children, dating, I mean, there are babies. And I'm like, they're going to break up at some point, and I don't want to lose my best friend, one of my best friends, because my children decided not to, our children decided not to date anymore.
And because they were teenagers, part of the hardship for me was that was at a time for my daughter and I to be at odds with each other, as often mothers and daughters are at those ages. And she was particularly hard on me. And I hope she's hearing this because I give her a bad time about it all the time. But anyway, but she really bonded with you, Lori, and you were really her second mom. And there were times that it was like bittersweet because I was very grateful that she had another adult woman she could look up to. And I definitely approved of her looking up to you. But there were often times like I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong.
Yes.
So it was a little bit of a trying time in a lot of ways during that time.
Yeah. And when they broke up, we did. I think we talked about it, but it was difficult for us because you and I are both we both have that mama bear in us, and we're very protective of our kids. And, it was difficult for a little bit, but I think what was so, for me, so affirming and was that even despite what was going on with our kids, we were both determined that we were going to try to continue to make a go of our relationship. And that for me was what sealed in my mind that you and I were going to be friends until we left this earth, because it was it was very much a time in our lives where oftentimes we walk away from relationships. And you and I both said in our own ways, this isn't going to be easy, but we choose this. We want this. And we're going to continue to pursue it despite what's going on with our kids. And that for me was just so amazing.
Excuse me. What I think what helped too is that it was, what was going on with the kids was kids' things.
Yes.
So it was based on what they were doing. We didn't have to take sides in it because it wasn't, it was just a matter, it was just part of life. It's part of what they do. And so I think that really helped. And I know that in so many ways, and I kind of got at this earlier, is that so many ways we're two sides of the same coin, So, well, there were times where it was like a little bit trying, and not in a bad way, not
especially
in a,
for you. I'm a little clingy,
but well, no. But here's the thing: is we got to learn to do some things that we'd never been used to before.
That's true.
So for me, it was like setting boundaries, being able to set boundaries and say no. Me saying no for the longest time was not heard of, and still is a difficult word for me to say, but you were a safe place for me to be able to do that. And we were able to continue through the friendship, and I got to see that, I can't say no, and the friendship isn't going to just go
Right.
away. So
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't going anywhere. You were kind of stuck with me, you know. It's interesting because some of those relationships, I had just moved here in that year, and
yeah,
we'll go into why and all that many other episodes later, but I was such a I was a basket case. I barely knew what was up and what was down, and I met you, Joan, Stacy, Amy, all in, and Ron, um, all in that first year, and really kind of the first half a year. And you've all had such an impact in my life, and I wouldn't be where I am or the person that I am without those relationships, And
right.
I am eternally grateful for, the boys and I landed here, by chance, so to speak, as you and I say, and even Aaron, divine timing. And it was such a great area to, as much as I talk about the fact that I prefer the big city, it was a soft,
What, Spokane's not big?
no, not even remotely, but thank you. No, no. It's a little big town. That's what I call it. Yeah,
Not the group
yeah,
either.
not to be confused
That's a
with
fun group.
isn't that a country artist or something? Yeah, not to be confused with that. But it was a soft landing space for the boys and I, and we needed that. And this area was such a great community, and we received so much help, and just the people around us were welcoming and gentle, if you will, which I wasn't, we needed, I wasn't prepared to find, but I was so grateful that we did find it. And so, yes, it was a good thing. And yeah, Spokane big, you're funny. That's a good one. All right, Aaron, so how did you and I meet?
Okay, so
my
fast
goodness.
forward about 10 years, spring of 2015. I'd only lost my mom
Yes.
8 months prior, and I was kind of in a rough spot. My dad's health wasn't doing the greatest. Just was a single leg amputee at the time, and a neighbor across the street had moved into a former friend's home who they'd moved recently, and people going to this church that we are now a part of decided, they'd purchased it. She came over and said, my husband's out to sea, but we're still going to have an Easter party, and you're welcome to come join us. Just kind of inviting the neighbors. And she wanted me to come to church, but I was like, at the time I was taking care of my dad, and I didn't really think I could, go away for that long. So I started attending a church, connected with a bunch of people, and over the next few months, I continued to go to church services on Sundays and midweeks, and I started doing their Bible talks, not really knowing the whole format of how the church was and structured, at least. And then in early June, I'd been at a few singles events because my neighbor was married, and she's like, we have a whole singles ministry that you should probably get in touch with or involved with. And by then I had started studying the Bible, and all of a sudden this gal with short purple hair comes over to me and says,
forgot about the purple hair.
I hear you're new. And I'm like, she was very confident and very to the point. And I was like, she was very intimidating. And I've told her this before. So
she's heard it from others.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get it, but okay.
She introduced herself. We exchanged numbers. And by then, a lot of people knew I was a tech geek. And I think you had asked me, you were living on the west side of Washington at the time. I can't remember. You had some project online you wanted me to help you with. So I was going over to your house like 3 or 4 times a week. And by then my dad had had his other leg amputated, unfortunately. So I was just in a tough spot, or is a rough spot, like emotionally draining. I'm an only child. My dad's side of the family doesn't live nearby.
You were truly buried. There was a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good description. Yeah. And when I graduated high school, I never went away to college. I went to a local community college. I wouldn't say I was clingy, but my mom was my best friend. So losing her was really challenging, but I focused on taking care of my dad and moving. We kind of joked that I went from being an only child to a single parent of two, because I literally was taking care of everything for both of my parents. It was tough. I don't want to say drowning, because I wasn't, but I was
honestly,
barely keeping it together.
From the outside. And, I would say when I met you, you didn't know who you were. You knew who you were as a daughter, or as, but you didn't know who you were as a person outside of your parents, outside of a few online things, some of the fan things that you were doing. But
I agree.
At that point in your life, and for me, you were like that, I don't know, you were like a little sister, and it just kind of scooped you up in my ridiculous confident mask that I don't even, Tina, we're talking about being behind the mask. Folks, I'm not a confident person. I am actually most times shaking in my boots, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I have learned over the years, for protection's sake, if you will, for survival skills, I definitely have these masks that I wear, and I wear them really well, apparently. So that I've actually been called intimidating, and I'm not sure that I understand that one, because I'm about as intimidating as, Minnie Mouse.
I say intimidating, but I think it was more just the fact that I felt your confidence, and I felt like you knew who you were. You knew who you were as a mom and a single in the church, and you, as disciples, as a member of the church, we're encouraged to reach out to the visitors, get to know people, connect with people, maybe study the Bible with people. So I could see that's what you were doing. And so, that's kind of where it started. And then you were in the last few studies. So in our church body, when you start attending church and you've maybe never been to church, they ask if you want to study the Bible, just to kind of see where you are, mentally, where you, in your knowledge of Bible. Do you want to study out certain things, just to see if we kind of click on the same wavelength as our church body? And then at the end of the studies, if you would like to, you can get baptized. And so when I realized that getting baptized was kind of coming to the end, and I was getting close to my mom's birthday, I chose to, we amped up my studies to 2 a week for 3 weeks, just to get them done. But I'm grateful because I got to get baptized on my mom's birthday. Nice. And it was the first birthday that I'd had of hers since she'd passed. And there's a scripture, of course, I can't think of it at the moment. I want to say it's in Mark, but it might be mentioned in Matthew as well, about let the dead bury their dead.
That's in Matthew.
Because there's that, because the son wants to say, well, wait a second, I got to go bury my dad. And then Jesus says something like, you got to come to me and that can be dealt with later, or something like that. And I chose to do that day. And because I had originally planned to go out to the ocean where my mom's favorite little town is and bury some of her ashes in the sand and do a little memorial for her. But instead, I chose
But we did get
baptized.
to do the next year, which was fabulous.
Well, yeah, we did eventually get to do that. But through all that and becoming a disciple and becoming a part of this church, I was given a lot of amazing family, and God blessed me with amazing people. Not that I didn't already have amazing people in my life. I have a man in my life he's been like my brother since I was 13. His name is Aaron as well, which is part of the reason why I go by EJ. He calls me EJ because our names are spelled the same, even though the boy Aaron traditionally is a different spelling. It's just both of us are Erin, so it's just so much easier to be one of us EJ and the other one Aaron. So I think through that summer and early fall, we had been discussing possibly living together. Because I had to move out of my parents' house. Oh, that's why I was talking about school. I never went away. I stayed at home, so I was always home with my parents when I wasn't working. Just so I had to kind of move out, and I was attending a church that was a little bit further away from my hometown than I wanted to commute all the time. So I was like, well, why didn't I just move closer? So we started talking, and I became got a job through her. She was needing a caregiver. Lori did. So, which I know she'll share more about. So she was able to help me get a job. And so I was able to be her roommate.
Which was awesome.
As well as her caregiver. Her sister in Christ, her friend, which was awesome. Yeah, we got to connect and spend a lot of time together, which gave us an opportunity to really get to know each other on multiple levels. And it was not easy. I mean, we had our struggles. I think I remember that, we moved in together and I had a basket on the counter of some of my stuff, like toiletries. And she stuck it underneath, and I'm hunting all over the bathroom for it. I'm like, where the heck did she put this? And then she's like, I don't want to know that you brush your teeth. It's disgusting. I'm like, it's a freaking toothbrush and toothpaste, and you don't want that on the counter?
I remember that.
But I had never lived with anybody else except my parents. Except my mom's mom had lived with us for a while. My grandmother had lived with us for a while when I was younger. So I had been living with her, but I hadn't lived with her for so long. And then so it was like, this was my first experience having roommates.
Oh my goodness.
That was one of our many arguments. But we worked it out. We talked it out.
We did. It was definitely adventurous.
Yeah.
I'm a very persnickety kind of person, and I have a little OCD. And okay, I'm confessing.
Little.
My current caregiver, I drive her to complete distraction. EJ is really glad that it's somebody else who's having to deal with me. I have very particular ways that I do things, and I'm kind of sensitive to things like, I don't know, anything internal. Teeth. Yeah. I get uncomfortable. Please don't. My boys used to constantly they're boys. They would bring things up at, a mealtime, and I'd be like, that is not appropriate discussion while I'm trying to eat.
She doesn't
Everybody
even
chews too loud.
She says I chew too loud.
It's a thing.
But I mean, that's your personality. And I think that's, and so now I'm a licensed home care aide now. So I'm working with strangers. I mean, when I first started working with them, they're strangers. And I've had a couple of them now for several years. So you'll get to know each other. And we joke about she's probably glad she's not my caregiver anymore. It's not so much that, but honestly, I feel like at the point in our lives now where it's been 5.5 years that we've known each other, she's more of my friend and sister than I could be her caregiver now, because there's that family relationship now that we have that
that's very
at
true.
First we didn't really have. Like now I'm one of her emergency contacts for when she has surgery or she has, goes to the hospital. I'm one of the few people that they message, so it's granted her sons are, and then they let me know, which
you're in the inner circle.
That doesn't normally happen in a traditional. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. I mean, God has truly blessed us with an amazing relationship. The opportunities that we have, she likes to write. I love to write. So we've been able to connect on that. And I mean, you've been there for a lot. And I know you've seen me grow.
I'm like a proud big sister.
And I look at I have told people you and a couple other sisters at church are like the big sisters I never had. And I'm grateful for the opportunities to have learned from you. And I know we'll have many more to come. And, that's how life works. And I love taking journeys with people,
those are the best.
Lori and I used to love taking road trips together, which is one thing we miss because we were we're now
far.
5 hours apart at least. So now we can't have road trips together. Well, we could, but it would be a little more awkward or harder. But we would sit and literally take a journey. We'd drive up to Seattle one day, or we'd drive down south.
So much fun.
Go to the ocean just on a weekend, just for the fun of it. And so those journeys. But now we take other journeys, like writing novels together and getting to know other people. And we're in a group for writers and actors in our church body, and just all these, so many things. I don't know. Since that group too, I've gained more confidence in my abilities, and she's seen me through that too. So there's all these little different things and parts of my life now that I feel like you're a part of.
I don't know about you ladies, but can you imagine even just a year or so ago, I don't think any of us were considering, let's do a podcast,
Oh no. I mean, it's been my dream all my life. Well, not all my life, but in the last like 5 or 6 years is to have a podcast. I've done research over the years about doing it, but I'm like, I don't know what to talk about.
Right.
Does somebody want to even hear what I have to say?
True.
And then I get into fandoms, and this most recent one is 911 Lone Star, and I met some great people through that, and we're like, let's do a podcast. And we're like, okay. So I've been doing a podcast with them for a few months, and I'm like, I have confidence to like talk, and people are going to listen to me that I don't know.
It is a lot of fun, and I'm just grateful to be on this journey with the two of you. We're going to have a lot of fun, and so really looking forward to this.
So Tina, as Lori keeps mentioning, we're calling T, and I, EJ, have met through Lori. So we've not quite interacted too much over the last few years because we live on different sides of Washington.
Mhm.
But that's how we know each other. And now we're getting to know each other more through doing the podcast together.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to getting to know more about you. And the more I do get to know about you, the more I'm like, yep, Lori's got her hands full.
I do, indeed.
And when EJ says that, she's not just referring to me as being the handful. For the record, EJ is also part of the handful.
Oh, yes. I claim that.
Oh, you are both a handful. I'll give you that.
Yep. We're going to give Lori a run for her money.
This is true. This is true. What did I get myself into?
Yeah, this was,
temporary insanity.
Not temporary.
Not temporary. Oh no.
No,
I've been fully
the
diagnosed
definition of
in public.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result.
Right. Not temporary.
That's true. I guess that's true.
I'm going to plead the fifth. We can move on now.
All right. Moving on. So you guys can get to know us a little bit more. We're going to share some of our favorites. So we'll start with T. Do you have any favorite quotes?
Not quotes. I think the things that I say the most is "This too shall pass." It is what it is, and oofta. Yeah, oofta's my big one.
Those are awesome ones.
Yes, I like that. Oofta. Oh, I like that one.
How about Lori?
Oh, I could list off many. I love my quotes, right? But
today's, maybe.
Yes, today. I think if I had to pick one of my absolute favorites from one of my heroines would be Helen Keller. And she basically says, although the world is full of suffering, it's also full of those overcoming it. And I kind of feel like that's just a great summation of my life and many other lives that I know. And it just really speaks to me. So, yeah, I would definitely go with Helen Keller. How about you, EJ?
I love quotes, but like when I think of, so there is one, and I don't know who said it, but actually I have it on a sign in my house that I designed, one of those paint shops where you go in and you can paint like a wood, piece of wood in the like stencil or whatever you pick.
Okay, yeah.
It says, creativity takes courage. And I love that quote because I am a creative person. I enjoy being creative. I have a lovely imagination, which I'm grateful to God for have given me. And it also takes a lot of courage. And I'm confident that God's given me this gift to share with whomever shall listen, read, or enjoy whatever I have to share. And so I like to live by that. Like I like to live and remember that creativity takes courage. The stuff that I do, everything I'm doing, I'm being courageous at.
Amen.
Because it's easy to say, well, I'm doing this for nothing, or like, well, why am I doing this? And then you get discouraged and you just don't want to do it. But just remember, just taking that step, taking that leap of faith.
Oh yeah.
Is just like the first step in, a new beginning.
I love it.
A new journey. So, well, yeah. So, Tina, do you have any favorite scriptures? See now, Laura, you've got me doing it.
What am I doing?
Calling Tina.
See? It's contagious. Can't help it.
It is my name, and it doesn't hurt anything to call me Tina. Just people also call me T. So, and it connects to my YouTube. So,
Yes.
yeah, I do have a favorite scripture. I have several. I think most of us would or do.
Yes.
But my current one that I'm kind of living life by is Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Today has enough. That's like my new all-time favorite.
Yeah,
So
amen. That's an amazing one.
Yeah, that scripture in these times today is just that's a compelling scripture to grab onto. So thanks for sharing it.
Yeah. How about you, Lori?
So probably all the way back to my baptism and even before, I find the greatest peace in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. The Lord, they are plans for peace and prosperity and not to harm you. And if you know anything about me, I need to know that somebody is out there not to harm me. And
amen.
And so, and then kind of my very short mantra when I'm really afraid or something's going on, and I practice with
I know
with
this
deep
one.
breathing, Isaiah 40 verse 8, because I need the basics. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever. And I need to know that my God and everything with him is not going anywhere. And it truly is my foundation. And so I just often say it. So,
amen.
Yeah. What about you, AJ?
So the first scripture that ever made me cry was Matthew 6:25-34. Do not worry, which if anyone knows, as we've talked a little earlier about where I was in my life before I came to church or came to God, I was worrying about a lot of stuff that I couldn't control. Like I had no control over, but I was worrying and I was living in this pit of worry. And just the whole scripture talks about, God provides. He's like, the flowers don't worry about what they're going to wear today because God provides it.
Right.
The birds don't care about, aren't worried about if they're going to get fed because God's going to provide it. And, in 6:33, we get, seek first his kingdom and all will be given. And then as T explained, the 6:34 is don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow has enough worry of its own.
Yes.
That's probably like I've held on to that, and I go to that scripture so many times, a week, a month, and it's a hugely powerful one for me. Another one that's really stuck out to me and I think has really gotten me through a lot is 1 Peter 5:7. The whole 1 Peter 5:6-11 is awesome, but 5:7 truly stands out. The NIV translation is cast all my anxiety on him because he cares for you. And as somebody who struggles with anxiety, hearing that, that's powerful as in itself, because anxiety can truly ruin us. If we live in anxiety, that's where Satan can come in and really mess with you.
Amen. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Anybody have any favorite songs or artists, musicians, groups,
Do
bands,
I breathe?
music?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was hard to think about this one and try to bring it into some semblance of small so we could move on, because music inspires me, encourages me, makes me cry.
We can take my turn at that because I'm not really into music.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'll take up enough space for both of us. Definitely, probably on a spiritual note, lately, Mandisa has so many great songs that just grip me, and Overcomer comes to mind, and but then just take it back to, I'm an eclectic music listener. I listen to everything from Beethoven to classic rock to pentatonics. Oh, pentatonics is one of my favorite kind of new genre. I love Sing and A White Winter Hymnal. I don't think there's anything that Pentatonics has put out that I don't like or listen to.
Oh yeah, their Hallelujah.
Oh, that thing makes
rendition
me
was
cry.
beautiful.
Or the Mary, did you know? Oh my goodness, I
yeah.
love that. But probably one of my favorite artists of all time, and I'm so sad she's gone, is Whitney Houston. I
Yeah.
mean, again, she's one of those artists, very few songs that she's sung that I don't like. And then you've got like classics, like when I know when I'm stressed out, you know, you're talking about that, Erin, I will literally break out into Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland, you know, and I'll be talking about the Bluebirds, and, you know, it's one of those few childhood memories that I have that is pleasant and that I just love. And so if I need it, it'll just come out, you know. You know, Tina, you like music because we do karaoke together. So I was thinking about that. I always do Proud Mary, you know. I am a huge Tina Turner fan, and I just can't imagine that and like Dixie Chicks. I mean, I have so many. I listen to so many different kinds of music, and I love musical shows, you know, The Voice and songwriting shows. John Legend's got one out about songwriters. I can watch anything to do and listen to anything to do with music forever, and it could never be enough. So, okay.
So I do have music I like. I like Steve Miller Band, Creedence Clearwater.
Ooh, yeah.
I like
some classics.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin. I've really been getting into a newer artist, and it's really surprising because I wouldn't have been caught dead listening to rap at any given time in my history. But I stumbled across a newer one. He's independent, and he really speaks to what's going on in our world today. And I think the only thing that would make it even better is if he was outright Christian. But his name is Tom McDonald, and been really, really getting into it. And even though it's rap, and even though he's tattooed from head to foot with well, they're not cornrow braids anymore. He used to have those, but his what little hair he has is braided. But you know, he's got this message, and he's not afraid.
Yeah, I think Alex actually had me listen to him. He was like, "Mom, you got to hear this guy," and I was like, "Wow, he actually sounded really good."
Yeah, no, and he's pretty amazing. I started off a few months ago listening to a song from him from a couple of years ago, and I'm like, "Holy moly, boy, he was ahead of the time." And
right.
And then just more recently, I've been just catching more and more of his songs, and just really like the message. And and more than the message is the heart that he isn't afraid, and when so many are right now.
So, you know, in my mind, when I heard him, I kind of thought, hey, he's kind of like a healthy version of Eminem. But am I wrong? He's kind of got that feel, right?
Right. But he dissed Eminem in his last song. It was kind of funny.
Oh, see, he's a healthy
It
version.
wasn't outright disrespected. He didn't outright disrespect him. He was making a point, and it was a good point. He's a little bit like Eminem in that he raps.
Yeah.
But the style of rap is a little bit different.
Okay.
Definitely the message of the rap is different.
All right. So I definitely enjoyed him. It was a good song. Well, so Miss EJ, I know you have favorite artists. You love music.
Oh yes, I do. Well, so I think my go-to all the time is country music. I was raised on country music, classic country.
You're forgiven.
No, country's good. You forgive.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with country. No, I really enjoyed it. My parents were really into country, so that's what I listened to most of my life. Then I got into listening. We had a station in Bremerton, or from Seattle, called, it was an oldie station. Played the classics from, I think, the 60s. And so I'd listen to a lot of that for a while. and I'd go through my phases, and then I got into pop music, and I was like huge boy band fan.
Yes.
So like NSYNC was my number one, and then I was introduced to like New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys, and then like I was into that like genre for a long time. And the pop music, I love pop music. I love fun. I love when I was in junior high and high school, or elementary school and junior high, I played the clarinet. And also in junior high, I took up alto saxophone so I could play in the jazz band.
Cool.
So I enjoy jazz, big band jazz music.
I love jazz and big band.
I love like favorite female singers, like Christina Aguilera. I was born in the early 80s. So by like early 90s, I kind of started really getting to know some of the music. So my music choices come from like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, and so on. Nowadays, I will listen to New Kids on the Block because I became a fan of theirs, what we call a second generation fan, which was a fan that became a fan after they had broken up and before they got back together, because I'd become a fan after I got to know who NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were, they're kind of like created from the image of the New Kids on the Block.
Interesting. It's a whole nother vernacular.
Well, okay, so it wasn't like they were created. It was just the New Kids on the Block worked, and the people that kind of helped them make their mark when they transitioned from like, because New Edition and then New Kids on the Block, and then there was a break, kind of the grungy punk rock time, which there's a local punk rock band in Bremerton called MXPX. I love their shows, and I'm not much of a headbanger or anything like that, but I do enjoy their music. But yeah, so NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were kind of the late 90s, early 2000s boy band. And then like there's these phases where like you'll go like 10 years without a new boy band, and then they'll like a bunch of them will pop up again, and it'll be like the new generation. Right. Which I think happens in music. Like, as people get interested in different things, and then the people that are interested grow up and they start to like other stuff, and things shift. And so my music likes and dislikes have changed over the years. There was a time where all I listened to was whatever was on the television show Glee, because that's where I was getting all my music from.
Love that show.
That's a whole topic for definitely not this type of podcast. So I used to joke that anything before like 2009, I remember. And then anything between 2009 and like now, I'm like, who? Huh? I don't know who you're talking about. Like there's singers and artists now that I'm like, who?
Right.
But then there's amazing music, like Bruno Mars has some great songs. Yes, I listen to a lot of Christian music. I love the Newsboys.
Ooh, I like Newsboys.
Love them.
Lauren
Daigle.
Lauren Daigle.
I'm still crying because my concert got canceled.
Mendisa. Danny Goki.
Mm-hmm.
I like Hillsong.
And then
Hillsong's good.
Hillsong's good. Song, yeah, and and then I do love to sing. So at church I'll sing with the sopranos, and so I enjoy doing that. So yeah, I like to practice, and I'll sing in my shower. I haven't done a karaoke, obviously, because we've been in COVID for the last year. So, and then, then I'll have these times where, like, when I'm writing, I can't okay, so here's the thing with music and me. If I'm doing absolutely nothing else except, like, cleaning my house, driving, or I can focus, I can listen to music. But if I'm anxious, I can't. If it has words. If it doesn't have words, I'm fine. So I will turn on, when I'm writing, I will turn on my Pandora station of Native American flute music.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
Because that calms me down and it keeps me focused. I also love like Japanese instrumental music. If you've listened to Seeing the Memoirs of a Geisha movie, that soundtrack is beautiful. The soundtrack to Stargate Atlantis, of all shows, has amazing music. So I do enjoy instrumentals. I'm not a huge orchestra type of fan, so I don't like the strings instruments as much as I do like the woodwinds. And okay, so I'm getting really technical in here on the types of music. I do enjoy music. I do love music. It has a time and a place, and I was thinking about there's so many amazingly talented singers and artists that we've lost over the
Oh my
last few
goodness,
years.
sadly.
That,
Yeah.
classics. And
it's been rough.
Yeah, it has. And I feel like there's like this whole generation we're starting to lose. I'm like, please don't let Betty White die anytime soon.
Right?
I know, she's so funny.
I'm like, she's like hanging on, and I'm like, just a little longer.
Yeah. I was thinking back
so-
to when we were talking about living together. That's when I probably no, not even probably. I know that I drove you crazy because I have music on all the time. So when we were living together, I remember really learning to embrace putting headphones on because I just, you know, here I had roommates because we had Corrine as well at first, and you know, I love music so much. I eat, sleep, and drink it like it's with everything.
Yeah.
And so I really had to learn to embrace wearing headphones so that I didn't drive my roommates to complete distraction.
Well, and like I said, you know, it wasn't all the time that I was having problems, but there'd be days like I was just a little more on edge or anxious or felt like I had so much going on that I just couldn't focus. And then having the music, especially if it's louder, like if it's low, I can maybe handle it. But if it start getting louder where that's all I can really focus on, I'm like, I can't deal with this.
I think
There's a reason for that.
I was going to say, I think my music drowns out all other things, and I need it to because I'm constantly running away from everything else. So the music being up is a way for me to like, okay, run away from that thought, go over here, go over there, you know? Yeah, definitely.
So this is going to be one of my first interjections that kind of come from the mental health aspect, and that's that anxiety that you're talking about and stress. One of the things that it does is it prohibits good blood flow to the front of our brain, which is not only where we make decisions and control our behavior, but it's also the areas of our brain that process language. So incoming and outgoing language. So the words to the music, if you're anxious, is just going to be like a bunch of nonsense and create that anxiety.
That's exactly how I feel.
It kind of amps up that anxiety. However, the instrumentals, a different part of your brain processes the instrumentals.
Interesting. Because, I do prefer instrumental when I'm sleeping or, you know, going to sleep, that kind of thing. But I definitely, because, the words can keep me awake. So I definitely have to have kind of
even if you're not paying attention. Because there's so much that our brain processes that we're not even aware of, including sounds and trying to decipher, is that incoming language? Should I pay attention to it?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Very cool.
This is why we love Tina.
Or Tina drives you nuts.
Nah. It's totally fascinating. I love it. Love every second of it.
Neither one of you have had to live with me, so
We'll go with that.
Well, so now we've talked music. How about authors? Any novel or authors you guys like to read?
This was about as hard to narrow down as music was. I love Shakespeare. Oh, this you want to know a silver lining of the COVID pandemic thing? Okay. What's his name? Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek guy. Oh my gosh, Patrick.
Patrick Stewart.
Thank you.
Patrick
I really like that man. Anyway, during the whole pandemic thing, he had started like right after the holidays, and he took this year on Facebook. Every day he would check in and he would read a sonnet. I was in heaven. Like oh my gosh, stop talking. So
Lori hates it when I do that.
Yes.
I know what it is. It's a thing.
She does it just to get me.
But whenever she starts talking about all these older things, I like to say, what's that?
He makes me feel so old. Anyway, Patrick did this amazing job of reading sonnets, and I tuned in every day. Like it was just heaven to my ears. Modern, James Patterson, Iris Johansson, I honestly feel like Iris Johansson is like a female version of James Patterson. I hope neither one of them are offended by that. They both do a lot of crime. Alex Cross and Iris Johansson has the forensic, what is she, a forensic sculptor. And she helps the dead be kind of go home, so to speak, be at peace. And then Jane Austen, Agatha Christie, Arthur Conan Doyle. I love a good mystery.
Isn't he a sir?
Okay, yes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Well, I wasn't correcting you. I was just asking.
Yes, that's the
That's the
same,
same
one.
one.
And he's the author of most people Sherlock Holmes. So I love Agatha Christie. I love murder mystery, things like that. So yeah, but I read lots. So anything, almost anything. I've read the dictionary. So, I like to read. Words are my game. So enough about me. Moving on.
That's why she likes
Yes, I
Scrabble
do.
so much. Scrabble is also a game you don't want to play with her if you want to win.
Oh, that's funny. We're going to have like this whole list of don't do with Lori.
I ain't saying anything.
Oh my goodness.
Well, T, do you have any favorite authors?
Yeah, I definitely have always been a reader since I can remember, and just read just about anything I can get my hands on. Although I don't tend to go towards the classics as much, although the occasional one stands out that I enjoyed. But as far as I just like reading straight up for down and dirty entertainment, and so one of my first authors that I fell in love with was an author named David Eddings. Not many people have heard about him, I don't think. And but he created a series of books, and the storyline in them just sort of kind of drew me out of the world I was living in and into a whole other world, and it was fascinating. So that one stands out. And then, of course, as an adult, I love Stephen King and Dean Koontz are two of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
So David Eddings, Stephen King, and Dean Koontz.
Yeah, you definitely I enjoy fantasy, and I enjoy kind of that other world, but I definitely haven't immersed myself in it as much as you have, It's one that I can, I definitely enjoy, but then there's ones I want to steep myself in,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, I have a very well-established vocabulary. I definitely do. And I think about words. I have an understanding of words that are in different languages. I can usually pick them apart. But when I sit down to read, I don't want to think about what was that word again?
Yeah. Right.
So I tend to kind of steer away from that. Never been a Shakespeare fan or what I consider highfalutin. I just really wanted to say that word.
I like it. My two country friends. What about you, EJ?
Wow, books and me, I don't know. I wasn't a huge reader when I was a kid. I mean, sure, as a kid, I really had the kids' books going. And maybe some of the smaller chapter books. But honestly, by the time I hit middle school or high school, I guess I went to a junior high, so junior high and high school. If a teacher had a book that we were supposed to do for a book report, I would usually read, if at most, half of it, and then fake the rest to do a report.
Wow.
And I don't know. I never was into that. And I keep thinking about all these times, the kids or the women that are like, oh, I love this one when I was a kid, or some of the Jane Austen books and Sense and Sensibility. And I'm like, what? Huh?
Yes, you do that often.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm like, what? It means nothing to me. And I don't know. That wasn't my thing. And then I don't know what I was thinking when I signed up for honors English in high school.
Does
And
require a lot of reading, right?
yeah, I don't remember how many books we went through. The only one I remember that I actually was like enjoyed was Night by Elie Wiesel, and that was the only one. And I liked it so much I bought it. And you know, it's not something I would do for like school books.
Interesting.
And I think like towards the end of high school, like there were a few other book reports, and so like I think I had one teacher that instead of assigning us like we had to come back to class the next day with a certain amount read, we just read the chapter out loud in class. So like we got through the Scarlet Letter and the Crucible, which actually weren't too bad. But like I haven't read a lot of the classics or quote unquote classics that a lot of people talk about. Let's see. As I got older, I mean, I read through the Harry Potter series, Twilight series. I mean, one of my favorite shows, Roswell, is based off of the Roswell High series by Melinda Metz, so I've read through those.
That's science fiction, right?
Haha, yeah. Well, that's like saying, well, to me, I don't know, I'm like, is To Kill a Mockingbird about Tom and Jerry?
Oh, that was good. Good comeback.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I guess having written for so long between fan fiction and even now working on my other novel, I'm very picky about what I write or what I read. And like, sometimes I hear books because I sometimes use Audible and sometimes I just read books. And I have to wonder, like, how some of these authors published. Like, mass market paperback is like not just a self-published book. And I was like, why did they use that phrase? Or I don't know. So I get too picky and nitpicky about little things. I'm like, so sometimes it takes the enjoyment out of reading. I know. I don't know. I like, as an author of romance, I do enjoy reading Debbie Maycomber. I read a lot of her books. She actually is kind of based out of Port Orchard, Washington, which is just around the corner from where I grew up, and my mom grew up in Port Orchard. So her Cedar Cove series is based on the real life town of Port Orchard, Washington. So that's kind of cool. I've had a chance to meet her, and she's kind of one of the authors I kind of aspire to be or be inspired from.
Oh, that's right. Right after I moved here, I got to meet a local author that I didn't mention. I love Christian fiction, and I was at a church worship gathering for multiple churches and got to meet Frank Peretti. He's from Idaho, and he's written Piercing the Darkness and This Present Darkness, and I absolutely love him and really enjoyed it. I just had no idea that, I'd moved to an area where he lived, and so it was really awesome getting to meet him.
Nice. I think Debbie's the only one I've met. And she just did a book signing at one of the bookstores in Silverdale, so it was just, cool. She came. And aside from romance, I like to... Wait a second. Is that one of those books that you had us read in that book club? That short-lived book club at church?
Yes.
And you had us accidentally read the second one instead of the first one?
Yeah, old age, it's getting to me. Yes.
Okay.
It's on angels and demons and yeah.
Okay. Yep. The whole like invisible force or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It's sort of what's going on behind the scenes.
Behind the mask.
Right?
And one of the books I read not long ago, I think it was, maybe it was 2 years ago when I did my whole like binge read so I could get like beat my previous goals of reading. read one called Saving Cascadia by John J. Nance, I think is the author's name, and it's like a fictional natural disaster set off the coast of Washington. That was really good. And I love dystopian and like apocalyptic stories, so I like to read that kind of stuff and even watch movies about it. And I also like reading what's set locally, like that one and others. There's an author, she set like an entire book series called, I think it's called With Me in Seattle, and it's Kristen Proby. I liked her books. I think I only read the first like 6. I didn't realize since I finished reading what I thought was the end of the series, there's like another 6 books. The last book I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. It's a gay romance about the son of the female president of the United States and the Prince of England getting together. And I don't know. It was.
Well,
cute.
That's a twist.
Yeah. It was cute. I don't know. It was a very well written book. I can't remember how I came across it, and since I've read it, several people in some of the other fandoms I've read have recommended it. I'm like, oh, I've already read it. They're like, oh, you've read it? It's so good. And I don't know. I mean, I LGBT community is something that I've always supported. I'm not in it personally, but I have, some family that's in the community, and I know it's a touchy subject for some people, but not. I don't know. I guess I love people equally, and I know in the Bible Jesus says to love our neighbors as ourselves, and I kind of choose to love everybody. If somebody wants to become a Christian and they are in that community, there's a different conversation that needs to be had. But I still support the community. It's their choice, not mine.
Jesus loves unconditionally.
Exactly, and that's kind of how I see it. I'm like, he tells us to love, so that's what I'm going to do. And you treat me okay, I'll treat you okay. If you don't treat me okay, I'll still treat you okay, because that's also something in the Bible. So I don't know. It's something to talk about outside of this, but maybe we could talk about it in an episode sometime.
Sure, yeah, we can look into that.
And I don't know. I would love to say that I like to read like nonfiction, but I'm not really into that. And and with my limited at-home downtime, picking up a book is not always easy, so I rely on Audible and audiobooks.
Well, yeah, audiobooks, that's become my new enjoyable space that I'm in a lot. I really do like Audible, and Kevin and I are listening to a whole series by Terry Brooks together, and I listen to lots of short stories to fall asleep, and yeah, my eyesight's getting worse after my little mini stroke a couple years ago. Reading, despite it being one of my very favorite things to do, became a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And so I can't do it near as long as I would like. So Audible has kind of become my new friend, and I went into that realm kicking and screaming, but I'm there now, and I get it, and I get why people enjoy it. You can, Kevin and Alex, they listen to like entire books and podcasts and everything at work on their headphones,
Yeah, I can do that.
They both work in warehouses, so as long as they're doing their job, and they listen to any number of things while they work,
Right.
and on their breaks. So gives them something to do, and according to them, keeps them awake. So
Yeah, I have a 30 to 45-minute commute to and from work some days, so they're good to throw on if I'm not listening to the Bible or music. I don't know. I know you hate it when I speed up the Bible, like do it at like 1.5 speed. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's my version of skimming. Not that I want to skim through the Bible, but I skim fast. I'm guilty of skimming.
Yeah, I'm not a skimmer. I want to enjoy every juicy morsel of the word.
Oh, yeah, in the Bible, I do too. But in general,
No. I'm that way in every book.
Oh.
It's all about the words. I'm all about the words. I love them.
I don't know. That's another conversation for later. I mean, we could honestly debate all night about that.
We probably could, but let's not.
All right. So we've talked about books. What about our favorite movies? What's everybody's favorite movies to watch, or what's the last one you guys have watched?
For me personally, this was very difficult being a theater major and a historian. I love movies. I have since I was a little kid. My mom, she loved. Oh gosh, Tina, do you remember when they used to have miniseries on TV?
Yes.
I remember when they used to do
Okay. Well,
I don't think it was that long ago. I think they still do them.
I don't recall seeing very many miniseries, but that was a thing. Or definitely the Sunday night movies, right?
Masterpiece
and all that.
Theater.
Yes, Masterpiece Theater. I don't know. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff, and the holidays and all of that. You got the movies that were classics, right? Every year we watched, Wizard of Oz and all of that stuff. But so I grew up loving movies. We often went to the theater. It was a family affair. We would go, and it was a lot of fun, and I very much enjoyed it. So I watched everything. I'm a single mom of 2 boys, so you can imagine. My first husband was really into martial arts and action, so I've seen every action movie on the planet. There's very few I haven't seen. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Willis and Liam Neeson, and you name it, I've seen him in a movie. But I guess if I have to choose for myself, I prefer a thriller or political. There's American President. Aaron, you and I have talked about, we have fall asleep movies. That is a movie I know by heart, and I can just watch it over and over again and be comfortable with it on. A Few Good Men.
Classic.
I love that movie. You can't handle the truth. But I recently watched a great film with Mel Gibson and Sean Penn called The Professor and the Madman, and it was on Netflix, and it was absolutely probably my favorite movie of the last couple of years. It was very impactful, and it was about grace and mercy. And
so when you name off that film, and then you named off the actors, now I have to know who was the professor and who was the madman, because I could see that as being interchangeable.
Oh, that's very true with those two. Sean Penn was the madman, and I don't tend to be a huge Sean Penn fan, but this was probably the best role of his life. He was amazing, riveting, and he really got it.
I thought he did well in I Am Sam, too.
Oh, yes, he did. He did do well in that movie. I still like this one better.
But otherwise, I agree with you. I'm not a big Sean Penn
he's had
fan.
some interesting films, and not usually typically in the genre that I would watch, and so I haven't, been a huge follower of him. But Mel Gibson plays the professor, but a self-taught professor, which is really amazing. And, it's all about the human language. It's about the men who compiled the historical Oxford Dictionary back in the late 1800s. And it made me cry. and laugh, and I loved it. So that's my kind of a thing. I want to be entertained, yes, but I want to feel like I'm learning something and growing and enriching my life when I watch a film. So those are kind of things that I look for, kind of hallmarks of whether it's going to be a good flick for me. And that probably, sums up, I could talk movies forever. So, what about you, T?
So right now, my husband and I are working on collecting the Avenger movies and the Justice League
Ooh,
movies. And I've always liked them a lot, but never watched them in order and whatnot. And so that's our goal, is to watch them all in order.
cool.
Um, so that's fun. But if I have a movies that I lean toward, it tends to be things like Independence Day, The Day After
I
Tomorrow.
love that movie.
Uh, all right, it's amazing. Those are the two that I can watch. Like, I can watch all the way to the end, go back to the beginning, and
Same
watch it
here.
again, just over and over and over again. I like movies like 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead. I'm a big zombie fan. I love zombie
Ugh.
movies. Um, yeah, it's it's kind of my thing. And apocalyptic
Yeah.
movies too. So, like, like Day
Yep.
After Tomorrow and
Apocalyptic.
whatnot. So,
Oh yeah, the I Am
yep,
Legend one with that
yep.
you
I
dragged
Am
me to.
Legend.
Yes. Yeah, I did like Will Smith. I mean, who doesn't? Oh, and
Right?
iRobot. Did you and I watch that one together?
I don't
I can't
know.
remember. I know we watched I Am Legend. I can handle some of it. A little bit goes a long way for me. I can watch one or two and then I'm like, okay, I've had enough of that. Take me back to what I want.
Well, in high school, I was obsessed with Nightmare on Elm Street. Love those
Yeah, no.
movies.
Uh-uh. That was way too close to reality for me. The fact that I could actually think that my nightmares might actually like be real, like come to life. No, sorry, not having it.
So yeah, that's kind of my movie stuff in a nutshell. Not very sophisticated. Action. I love action
Oh
movies
yeah.
too. I.
Die Hard.
Yeah, I'm not looking to I don't like rom-coms. I don't really like dramas too much. There's enough in the world to cry about. I don't really want to watch a movie with a box of
Weren't
tissues.
you saying at one time that Waylon likes that? Like Waylon likes Hallmark and
Yes.
rom com.
Yes, my husband likes those movies very much. When I first met him, it was kind of a shocker, especially come Christmas time. That's his time to watch those, and
Me too. I love
and
that stuff.
he's like, "Oh, he's like, "Oh, I just love this movie," and I'm looking at him like, "Oh,
So just to
okay."
give our listeners just a little bit of a visual picture, Wayland is like a gentle giant. He's a big bear of a man and just not somebody that you would think would be into rom-coms and Hallmark
And then
oh yeah.
and I taught him to knit. I taught
Oh
him to knit.
my gosh.
So one of the things one of the things that he did that just cracked me up is there was a time he had to take a vehicle into the tire shop to get tires put on it, and he sat in the waiting area knitting.
Oh
Get
my
out of town.
goodness.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
Yep,
Oh
I
my
was dead
gosh.
serious.
Oh my
It
I
was
love him
gosh.
awesome.
even more now.
He
That is so awesome.
he does it at the doctor's office, but I think he does it there to get the girls to be all like,
Oh
"Aw."
my gosh, that is too funny. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, I've got whole new visuals now. That's awesome. I love it. I needed a good laugh. All right, EJ,
How
yeah.
about you, EJ?
Well, your husband and I would definitely get along well because I love Hallmark movies.
She's obsessed with Hallmark. She doesn't
Yeah.
love them. She's obsessed with them. Addiction is a real thing.
It's also a sin, so I try to stay away from it. No, no, I do love Hallmark. I've definitely cut back on how much I do watch of Hallmark.
I just love giving you a hard time.
I know you do, and that's okay. I don't mind. But there's a few actors that I've been fans of in other fandoms, and I don't know if anybody knows, but a lot of the Hallmark movies are filmed in Vancouver, Canada, or Toronto, or surrounding areas. So there's several shows I used to watch that were filmed up there. So a lot of the actors will be in there. So like Luke McFarlane, Niall Mater, Erica Chera. There's a ton. So I see them, and I like to support them in whatever little series show they're in. So yeah, I do watch a lot of Homework. And then like, yeah, Lori, like you were talking about all the sleeper movies that we have. Like I've got a list, and like I have them on DVD, and I'm slowly starting to, like, when I see them on sale, I like will pick them up on Amazon just so I have a digital version.
Oh, that's a great idea. Why haven't I thought of that?
You know, and well, because yeah, I kind of was inspired from a friend of mine. She just had all her movies in a CD binder, and she didn't have the cases or any of the information. And I'm like, you know, I really don't need any of that except what's on the DVD. So I've been getting rid of a lot of my DVDs that I don't watch, and then the ones I do watch, I'm just keeping the paper cover and then the DVD itself and putting it in a binder, saving up a lot of space. So I have like my sleepers are like The Day After Tomorrow, which I love. I've probably watched that like 6 times a month. Like honestly, this month I've actually watched it like 3 times already.
That's great. Twister. Don't forget Twister.
Twister. Yep. That's a good one. 50 First Dates is probably one of my favorite rom-coms to kind of rewatch. Passengers, San Andreas, The Martian.
San Andreas was
yeah,
good.
I love that movie. An Officer and a Gentleman was my mom's favorite movie, and I love it as well. And it was filmed up in Port Townsend, Washington.
Right, that's that place that you took me to, right?
Yeah, it's filmed at Fort Worden State Park.
That was so awesome. What a great
Port
trip that
Townsend.
was.
Yeah, so yeah, it was filmed in the early 80s, right before I was born, and it was set. There's actually the very beginning scene where you see the character getting on a motorcycle. You look across and there's a couple of naval ships, and that's actually in the Bremerton mothball fleet of the shipyard of the town I grew up in, military shipyard. So
I love it.
And then the rest of it's set up in Port Townsend area, and so I love going up there. I've always loved that park anyways, and kind of go around, and they have a lot of the bunkers that you can go run around in. So it's just neat to like, I've watched a movie there, and there's been other movies that have been filmed up there as well. But Fort Worden, Officer and Gentleman is the one that's like predominantly filmed there.
So if Erin ever decided to be anything but a caregiver or an author, she could get a job as what am I thinking? Like a tour guide. This girl knows every spot, every nook, every cranny of the state of Washington. Oh my gosh,
I'm sorry, EJ.
It was amazing. She took us, we would go on these little road trips, and she was like, oh, and such was filmed here, and so was seen here. And, you know, it's like, you know how they have a tour bus down in Hollywood? Erin could do that for the state of Washington. And did you know this is the state flower, and this is how long this has been here? And there's this, right. And I'm like, what? I don't even know. Yeah, she is like a walking encyclopedia for the state of Washington. It's awesome. Okay. I love it. I learned so much.
I love living here. We have 4 seasons. You know, the weather is pretty reasonable. So
not right now. It's freezing, but that's okay.
Oh, maybe for you over in Spokane.
Yeah, it's freezing.
It's colder up here.
It's going to be 10, I heard, like on Friday. I am so not
isn't that
okay.
The high?
We're like going to be 5 degrees.
Single digits. I can't do the single digits. I moved out of Colorado.
So you guys are like living in A Day After Tomorrow then.
It's feeling a little like it. Probably we're being a little wimpy too.
Well, Lori, you're California girl. So
yes. I tell you, that blood never like thickened up. Yes.
Let's see for other movies. I mean, I do love Disney movies as well. I know I have some friends that are like really, really into them, and I've seen everyone. I haven't seen as many. I think my favorite Disney princess movie is Aladdin. I do like the cartoon, and I I loved the remake that they did. Mina Massoud did a really great job as Aladdin. And Naomi Scott, I saw her in Terra Nova. She was really good in as Jasmine. And I think Will Smith did a pretty good job and honored Robin Williams.
Yes, he did.
For playing Genie.
Yes. He was one of the few people I think that could pull it off, you know, because how do you follow Robin Williams, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, he did a good job.
And, yeah, and I do love rom-coms and Hallmark movies, and, you know, and then I do like action, like, I love Fast and the Furious movies, like this franchise.
Yes.
The first one I probably watched over and over again. The others, I love Tokyo Drift. And
that was a fun one.
Yeah, the one inside Tokyo. Yeah, and I've always been fascinated with the Japanese culture, so that's, you know, I love just kind of seeing that element. And
that's another way that Waylon and I really connected was Cars. Oh, yep. Waylon and I can sit and watch car shows, and I love to talk shop so much, so to speak, with him. It's awesome.
So here's the thing, a little bit of insight too, is they're both from Southern California.
True. This is true. We definitely grew up there, so.
And they likely might have met each other because they grew up in the same areas.
I know that it's such a small world.
They just ran in different crowds.
Yes. What is it? Isaac and Sarah always teasing me about my, you know, okay, Lori, not everybody grew up like you. Thank you. There was the rest of the world. Like, okay, whatever.
So speaking of movies, did anybody hear the joke about Tom Hanks? Nobody wants to travel with him.
Oh.
Because let's see, he's been in Apollo 13. He was in Forrest Gump. He was in Saving Private Ryan. He's played Captain Phillips. He's played Sully. And he's cast away on an island.
Yep.
And then when he got COVID in Australia, the hospital brought him a volleyball.
Which is awesome.
Oh, wow.
To hang out with him.
His very own Wilson right there.
Quarantine. Yeah, so nobody wants to travel with him because he's dangerous.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because in 99, when my favorite TV show Roswell started, his son was in the first 2 seasons playing one of the characters, and I did not realize it was his son. So his son Colin played Alex in the original Roswell. And I was like, I think I figured it out a few years later, like after he was off the show.
Okay.
And I was like, it just didn't click. And we didn't have social media back in the early 2000s to look, you know, do as much research as we can do now.
Right.
Speaking of TV shows, yeah, like we can move on to that, and I'll
that sounds great.
You know, Roswell always has and always will kind of hold a special place in my heart. The year that it started was September of 1999, which is the year that same time I started my sophomore year of high school, which is the same as the characters. And then I went to high school with the characters, age-wise and grade-wise. So when the show ended in 2002 in May, I graduated 1 month later, and the characters had graduated in the show. So, I got to go to high school with them. So that was kind of cool. And I'm a huge fan of Brendan Fair from that series, so I followed him to a lot of the series and shows that he's been in. And most recently, The Night Shift, a medical drama, and I love that
Which
series.
I loved.
Yeah. I know you love that series, and I was really bummed when they canceled it, and I feel like it could have done really well if it hadn't been just a summer series. But I love that. I really enjoyed his character. There's some other shows. Like when I was a kid, I think the first major television show that I really jumped and got into was Sequest DSB and Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
It's an interesting combination.
Yeah, and they were both kind of around the same time. And I don't know, I love both of them. And for me, I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, but for some reason Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was an awesome series, and it still is to this day. I often flip it on when I see it on Hallmark drama. I own all the DVDs, so it's not like I really have to.
I don't think I had ever seen an episode of that show until we were roommates. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I tried getting you to watch the first
Yeah,
season.
yeah. I think, I don't think we made it past that. It was, but I definitely like Sequest.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
yeah.
do like dolphins. So.
Oh yes, Darwin.
Ah, love the ocean.
Yep. And then, kind of as I got older, JAG, and then NCIS came from that series. And
I don't think I realized that.
oh yeah, I think it was.
I mean,
it was
makes sense now that you're saying it, but I just didn't realize it.
So NCIS had a backdoor pilot in, I think it was season 6 or season 8 of JAG. Okay. There was where Harm had gotten accused of murdering somebody, and the JAG was investigated by the NCIS team, which was Gibbs and a couple of the others. So that was kind of the backdoor pilot into NCIS. So they were running back to back for a couple of seasons, and then when JAG ended, NCIS kind of took over the night. And then I've watched, obviously NCIS as well as the Los Angeles version and the New Orleans version. I am behind on all the series now, just because, life happens, and I kind of lost interest in a couple of them. And then, yeah, same with Grey's Anatomy. I stopped watching when they killed Derek off.
Well, yeah. What was the purpose of continuing to watch that?
Well, I mean, it's set in Seattle, so I mean, it's like close to me in that way. And even Station 19, like I want to pick it up, but I'm just like, I don't know. Right now I have my limit. I think my 2 shows, and that's since the night shift ended, and then I was into Supernatural for a long time.
Now you're speaking Tia's language.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure Tia. Yeah, I know Tina's into that one, and I think like there were other ones. Like I know Lori, you and I watched Madam Secretary.
Oh, I love anything political, so yes.
And I started watching it, but I never really finished. You watched Designated Survivor. That was kind of a good one. It had a good start, at least.
So the first 2 seasons were fantastic, and then Netflix picked it up. And rather than go with the core of what was going on, they literally destroyed the 3rd and final season because they ripped the episodes out of the headline, and it became it just was such a mess. It was like, I don't know, it was like watching fake news on a show. I just really couldn't get into it after that.
Yeah, I think I only watched maybe the first season, so I don't remember any of that.
The first 2 seasons really good.
Yeah, and then I think now primarily my focus is on 911 and 911 Lone Star. I'd gotten into 911, the original on Fox, when it first aired, I think in January of 2018. Watched the first season and really liked it. And then I think I'd moved, so I missed season 2. But my a friend I had in the area kind of reintroduced me to it, and then Hulu at the time didn't have season 2, but they had season 1. So I watched season 1, and then I bought 1 and 2 on iTunes. And so I could at least watch those, and then caught up to season 3. And then during the beginning of season 3, I was seeing commercials for Rob Lowe in 911 Lone Star. And I'm like, Rob Lowe is a firefighter captain? I'm in.
Yeah, I was definitely in. I think you were the first one who said something to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, Rob Lowe's in it? Yeah, I'll watch it. Sure, no problem.
Yeah. And then just like with the night shift, I came for a specific actor. Night shift was Brendan Fair. Lone Star was for Rob Lowe. And I stayed for both series because they were amazing series. 911 Lone Star is going on. They just started their 2nd season about a month ago. And I'm loving it. I fell in love with it. 911 Lone Star. I mean, I love 911, but 911 Lone Star is definitely number 1 for me.
Yeah.
And
we're hooked over here, so yeah.
Yeah, so much so that, I have some friends that I've met through the fandom, because I've gotten really active in the fandom. And we are doing a podcast for 911 Lone Star, the 911 Lone Star Roundup, if anybody's interested in checking it out. Highly recommend the series. And if you want to listen to the podcast, that'd be great. And yeah, so those are kind of my big ones right now. And then if I get time and it's on, I try to watch The Curse of Oak Island. It's a History Channel series. It's a reality series about a couple of brothers that are looking for this treasure on an island in Nova Scotia, Canada. So, and then Lori, we're watching Virgin River.
Oh, I love Virgin River. I really probably need to go get the books, even if I, get them on Audible if they're available. But I very much that series really was very moving, and I really liked it. And I think because we liked it, I was looking for something similar and found Sweet Magnolias, which Layla and I are pretty obsessed with. And they left us on a cliffhanger, so we're waiting for, the second season. And then the kids have gotten me into a lot of D&D stuff, so I've kind of been getting into my nerdy side this last few years with the kids. We've been playing D&D as a family on Sundays, right up until the whole pandemic thing. But we are hoping to start up again here soon. We had about 6, 7, 8. There was about 8 to 10 of us who pretty much played almost every Sunday. A couple of friends from church, and then Kevin and Whitney, and even my grandson plays now and then when he's with us. And so that's been really fun. So I've gotten into some series like Witcher, which, oh my goodness gracious. If they don't hurry up and come out with this next season, I'm going to blow a gasket or something. I am just dying to see the next season. And I hear they were, Henry Cavill got injured, and then there was some COVID stuff. And so I'm just like, hurry up and finish already. I really need my Witcher fix. I can't believe how much I really enjoyed it. Just watched a new fairy one that I really enjoyed. And then, The Last Kingdom. I love historical stuff, the Vikings, And then Alex and another friend of his got me into it. It wasn't typically something I would have probably watched on my own, but I did enjoy the politics of it, if you will. The survival, The 100. I'm sure
that was a really
Tina,
good
I'm sure you
series.
like that one, right?
Yes.
Very dystopian, apocalyptic, But I did enjoy it.
I sort of grew out of it though.
Yeah, me too.
After the first season or two, I was kind of done.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I stopped watching at the end of season 2.
It got too convoluted.
I know you're not, Aaron. I loved Game of Thrones. I didn't love the way they ended it, but who did?
I only loved Game of Thrones when Jason Momoa was in it, and I've been a fan of Jason Momoa since he was Ronan Dex in Stargate Atlantis.
Oh.
I'm just putting it out there that he was not Aquaman to me, because I haven't even seen that movie. But
You haven't seen Aqua? Of course not. You're not into those kind of movies. But
it's not that I'm not into them. I just think there's too many to keep track of which ones I need to watch in what order.
So you like Jason Momoa? Have you seen him in the Frontier one?
I have not. Isn't that on Netflix?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Very
I
historical
do
based,
have
of
to watch
course,
that.
but it was really, really, really good, and he's the star in that one.
Yeah.
That was really good. And then yes, I watched 911 and 911 Lone Star. All Rise, A Bull. I really do like political or judge, lawyer, criminal. So probably as close as I came to kind of entering into following an actor and kind of getting into fandom, I really like Shamar Moore from Criminal Minds. His relationship with one of the other actresses in the show was amazing, and then his mom has MS, and so somebody had mentioned that to me, and then I think I saw some different things on YouTube or whatever, and got to meet his mom via, social media, and really enjoyed kind of learning about her story. And since I'm chronically ill and I co-facilitate some groups for chronic illness and those suffering from it, he was an actor that I could kind of really follow and just oh, well, and then there's more. I mean, just look at him.
Right.
Sorry, but
he's very handsome.
He's a very handsome man. Yes, he is.
Well,
So yeah, those are kind of my things. I really like criminal, lawyer, historical,
Yeah.
But yep.
Yeah, you mentioned that about the fandoms. I guess I forgot to mention it because I got so into the talking about Lone Star. I forgot. I'm like, I have the honor of meeting Ronan and Raphael, who play TK Strand and Carlos Reyes on 911 Lone Star through virtual conventions this past year. So that's definitely been a highlight of, the pandemic of, craziness, has been able to like connect with people online. So that's been fun. So yeah, I enjoy being active in the fandom as best I can. I don't go overboard like some people do. And not to say that people go overboard, but I'm like, I can't put as much time and energy into it as some people do.
Well, and
my brain can only, so much.
Yeah. T, what kind of shows are you into?
Well, as a kid, you guys talked about, reflected back on what you watched as a kid, and of course, as a family, we always watch things like, like the Airwolf,
Jan Michael Vincent, loved it.
Dukes of Hazzards,
Yay!
Knight Rider,
Mm-hmm.
all of those, and then of course Sunday night Disney movies.
Yes.
So those were really cool and fond memories watching those, and then, I've always liked procedural style shows. Was huge into ER.
Mm-hmm.
Loved that show. I watched it all the way through.
That was a great show.
Of course, I like the Law and Orders and whatnot, but more recently, you probably can guess, I really love The Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Fear the Walking Dead, and I guess there's another spinoff which I'm really curious about.
Of course you are.
And Supernatural, watched all the way through. Made it. Got to watch the final season. And even though I'm sad to see them go, at the same time, I felt like they did a great job of picking a good time for it, which they always said they would do.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I was glad they were able to kind of pull things together and really
absolutely
give it a true ending and not just cut it off at the end of a season and be like, oh, we're not coming back.
Exactly. And what I was really afraid of is like, oh, well, they're going to kill off someone. They always do. But because that's the way the seasons are built, they kill off someone at the end and they always come back. It's like they can't end it like that because we're not going to feel like it's an ending. Right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So they ended it. So yeah, I'm not going to crush it for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. I
think Jensen Ackles, I'm a Jensen Ackles fan. Dean's my guy.
Yes. I love, yeah.
What's the other guy's name? Padalecki? He's cute. I like
Jared Padalecki. Yeah, Jared Padalecki. He was in Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. He played Dean in Gilmore Girls.
Isn't that ironic?
That's funny. No, I wasn't a Gilmore Girl fan.
It was a cute show. I didn't mind watching it when it was on. I think my favorite episode of Supernatural is when Dean is scared of everything. So like it opens up. Yes. So it opens up with him running like he is just petrified. And then it pans to a little Yorkie chasing him.
Yeah.
And then
chasing him down the street.
Yeah.
Isn't he the big bad one? So that would be kind of funny. Yes. Okay.
Yes. And then there's a scene where Sam opens the locker and a cat jumps out and Dean screams like a girl. And oh my goodness.
That was scary.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and it was hilarious.
And there's a clip that goes around on Facebook of when he does in the same episode, he's sitting in his car and Eye of the Tiger comes on and he does this whole spiel with it. And it was pretty awesome.
He lip syncs and does the motions. It's in Yellow Fever. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really good episode.
Yeah, I think it's probably
Hilarious.
my all-time favorite episode. There's a lot of good ones, but that one's my
Mhm.
all-time favorite. Right now, I don't have TV. I don't have like internet
Cable.
or
Yeah.
not or cable or dish, so I don't really know what's going on out there TV wise. I did see previews for The Stand on CBS, so I downloaded that and
Oh,
subscribed to
that's a
that to
Stephen
watch The
King one,
Stand.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
because that happens to be the book that I can read from one cover to the end and then just go back and start all over again.
Okay.
And then I remembered CBS also did Under the Dome, which is a Stephen King, and
Oh yeah, I watched that.
That
it
was
didn't.
actually pretty good.
The gal that played Hen was in that. Lori, the one from 911.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was in Under the Dome.
And what's funny is that I loved the show, but it didn't even go close to the book. Like not even
That's what I
close.
heard.
Yeah, there wasn't, other than that there was a dome and they shared the names of characters. Not one
Yeah.
thing did they keep true.
Oh,
But
Yeah,
that's disappointing.
they made it their own story and I appreciated that and I thought it was still good. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making from books to movie or TV, it's always a 50-50.
yeah.
Some are really, really good and they keep it as true to the book as possible, and others, they change a lot. And I understand a lot of it's, time constraints or
Keeping people's attention.
Yeah.
yeah, so there's reasons, or
And
they try to
budget.
adjust it and get it in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, budget is a big
But
thing too.
Stephen King still cameoed in it. He was in the diner
Nice.
asking
Okay.
waitress for a cup of coffee.
Oh, I always
Um,
love that when the writers are,
Yeah.
cameo.
Didn't Stan Lee
Oh
do
yeah,
that?
he was famous for that. Yeah.
yeah. So, but right now I mostly just watch YouTube. So I'm kind of a YouTube
Yeah.
nut, and I watch the weirdest things. Like sometimes, and it depends on my mood. Like I could sit there for hours watching Storm Chaser videos.
Yes.
Okay, what was the
And
name of that strange one that I watched with you about the drunk people reenacting history?
Drunken History.
Okay, of course,
Oh,
that's
And
such a
yeah.
simple name. That was funny.
I didn't start that. My stepson
Okay.
and Stacy started that. I had never heard of it before.
Oh, okay. Well, that was funny. I didn't even realize you could watch stuff like that. There was another one that we watched, some paranormal thing. You guys love the ghosts and the whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the other ones I watch.
Okay. Yes. And I can only handle so much of that. Yeah. Yeah. Jennifer Love Hewitt's not in it. It's not Ghost Whisperer, so I really don't care.
Oh gosh! Wow.
I watch a
now
lot
she
of
plays
different ones.
Maddie on 911.
Yes, she does. She's an amazing character in the new 911.
See, now I got to check out this 911 series.
You
because-
do. It's amazing. You'll love it.
Hulu.
Oh, I'll have to when I get around to reinstating Hulu. I can only have so many subscriptions going at once.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm pulling out my hair. I'm not watching any.
Mhm.
I would say Hulu's probably your best bet.
Yeah.
I think one of my other all-time favorite TV shows was Firefly, and so therefore one of my favorite movies was Serenity.
Right. They were good. You and Whitney. Whitney is the hugest fan of Firefly, and
It's an amazing. I loved
you
it.
were too, and I probably wouldn't have watched it without the two of you. But I definitely enjoyed it. It was really a great series. I was sad to see
Fillion
it go.
is Nathan Fillion is one of my favorite all-time actors.
He is
Nathan
an amazing
Fillion, Will
actor.
Smith.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Will Smith. Oh, speaking of, it's not Nathan Fillion. That's that one. I liked Bones too. That was another one of my favorites.
Oh, David Boreanaz.
Yes.
Yes, I loved him when he was an angel in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait, isn't he the guy that I'm like? He does the SEAL Team one, right?
He's
Oh,
in
I
SEAL
love
Team.
that
Yeah.
one. Give me a good military show any day.
Oh yeah. Shows like The Unit. I
Oh,
loved
the unit was awesome.
Oh, and Numbers. Do you remember
Love
Numbers?
numbers. Of course, I've heard
Oh, I
from my
loved that
mathematician friends
series.
that it's not really any of that's not even remotely
It's-
possible, but it was great fiction.
We all use math every day. I used to have that memorized. I think I still have the Sequest intro.
Oh my
Memorized.
gosh, stop it.
Went past. So Sequest, the first season, was set in 2018.
Oh, wow. How come I'm not swimming
Yeah.
with the dolphins? What's wrong with this sphere? I want to
I
be
know,
swimming with the
right?
dolphins. Maybe living in a submarine under the water.
And the oceans aren't patrolled by the UEO. Like, come on, man.
I wouldn't have minded that. That would have been some fiction I could have handled.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we've wrapped that up.
You want to talk a little bit about the podcast, and I think Lori's going to be the best to describe that one.
Gosh, a few months back, a good friend of mine was chatting with me, and she was like, Lori, have you ever considered doing a vlog or a blog or, podcast? And I was like, no. And she's like, Lori, you have a great story and people would want to hear it. And it literally made me nervous just thinking about it. But then after hitting the self-publish button this January, that was a very freeing feeling, knowing that people were actually buying something that I wrote and paying attention to the words that I was putting out there. And I began to think, but I love people and I'm missing that connection. Maybe I could get that in a podcast, due to some of my history, which we'll get into in some later podcasts. Personally, vlogging, which is the video blogging, right? Really kind of intimidates me. I'm not quite ready to put my face out there in a very public way. But I thought I could put my voice out there. I could put my heart and soul out there. And then I was really reminded of a poem that I had read when I was young about the masks that we wear. And as T and EJ both know, because being my friends, I feel like all I've ever done throughout my life is wear masks for every setting. And some masks we wear because it's convenient, or it's just easier, or it's the right setting. But then often many of the masks that we wear are for protection out of fear, scary things in our lives, grief and loss, and, T being, in that mental health profession. I'm a life coach and, group facilitator, and EJ, with her own life experiences and being a caregiver, we've all had these many experiences where we realized that maybe we weren't being our authentic selves, not necessarily because we didn't want to be, but because of society, because of our different walks in life, because of any number of things, we wear masks. And all three of us, I feel like, have gotten to a stage in our life where we're like, I don't know if I want to keep wearing the masks. And I know in this time of COVID and pandemic that there's maybe some people who tuned in because they thought we were going to be talking about, I don't know if people tuned in because they felt like we were going to be talking about the masks that we wear, because of disease and all of that. But that's not the masks we're talking about. We're talking about the social, emotional, spiritual masks that we wear for so many different reasons. And yet I think we all struggle and want to be our authentic selves, but we're afraid. We're afraid maybe people won't like what they see behind the mask, or we won't be able to connect as well because we're not, we're not of the same mind. And so I feel like that's what we're going to be trying to discover in this podcast, is how do we take off the mask and still find confidence? How do we take off the mask, look behind the mask, if you will, and be free and unencumbered and live a quality life, live a great life without a mask? So that's my hopes and my dreams and where I'm hoping we're going to go with this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I'd always had, I think I talked earlier about a dream of doing a podcast, and some friends and I are doing a podcast for our favorite show, 911 Lone Star. So I'd had the experience,
which I am eternally grateful for.
Kind of was able to help on the tech side. So I think I think our main goal is to do this introduction episode, and then each episode in the future will be themed around some topic, whether it's the poem that Lori mentioned earlier that she'd read when she was younger about the masks, or maybe a book, or just a specific topic relating to that. Yeah, and so we'll chat about it. We'll share our own experiences. We'll maybe get some friends and family to help, maybe hop in and share their thoughts if it's, we think that they might have something to say. And yeah, so I think we're looking forward to where this journey takes us, and hope y'all are around for the rest of it.
T?
So, when Lori approached me on doing this podcast, yeah, I listened to what she said it was about, but I didn't give it a lot of thought. She just asked if I wanted to, and I said yes. Mostly there's a few reasons. Number one, I have my own personal experiences with different masks that I've worn over the years and continue to struggle with. I don't think they're bad or anything like that.
Right.
I also felt like once I gave the podcast some thought of what I'd really be bringing to it besides the comedy relief once in a while. But it's what I do every day with clients, what I do every day with friends and family is when there's issues that come up, is just what we're really doing is looking what's happening behind a mask. I don't ask anybody to take their mask off because sometimes it's necessary. But if we at least know what's going on behind the mask, truly understand it and understand the purpose of that mask, then it has its own meaning. And I think as you ladies were talking, it's like looking at my mask kind of over the years, it's like, they've kind of become who I am. They're part of my values, part of my identity. And is that something I necessarily have to be rid of to be free? And sometimes yes, and sometimes no. And I think that's what's going to be really interesting and dynamic about this podcast is that we're going to have a lot of rabbit holes we go down, a lot of squirrels we chase. But
yes,
I think it will all be relevant. It will all be relevant in some way. I'm really excited to be doing.
I'm really looking forward to this journey with you ladies. So
Same here. So our goal is to have a podcast out. So it'll be every other Sunday evening. We will release an episode.
I was thinking maybe we should we encourage our listeners for the next episode, in that we're going to be talking, our next episode, we're going to be talking specifically about the poem. So if you would like to maybe, I don't know, look ahead, have read it before we talk about it, I want to encourage anybody that's planning on being here for the next one to read the poem by Charles C. Finn called Please Hear What I'm Not Saying. And we're going to break that down and just talk about different aspects of it. And if you've read it before, you'll probably get it a lot better.
Well, thank you so much for listening. This episode will be available on Anchor and will soon be getting on other platforms. So be on the lookout. To keep up to date when that happens, you can follow us on our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as BehindTheMaskPC. And we'll soon have all of our episodes on YouTube as well. You can find me, EJ, on Twitter and Instagram as EJ8302. And T has her own YouTube channel called T's Life Lessons that you could check out. If you enjoyed what you've heard so far, we'd love to hear what you think. Feel free to review us on Anchor, leave feedback on the platform you've listened to us on, or message us through our social media. If you'd like to help keep these episodes coming, you can visit anchor.fm/BehindTheMaskPC/support to monetarily support the podcast. Thanks for listening, and on behalf of Lori, T, and myself, we'll talk to you next time.